We have an awesome message today. I'm pumped. I did not preach for 2 weeks, so I'm a little amped. So I might talk a little fast. If I do, sorry. Whatever. I'm on stage. You're not. Deal with it. Okay, anyway. So, hey, I'm going to pray, and we're going to get rolling. Heavenly Father, thank you so much that you have given us this incredible church, that we get to do these incredible things, that we get to the opportunity to give to situations like Victoria and Michael England's situation. Thank you for that. It is an honor and a blessing that we get to do that, that we get to partner with you to help create in heaven here on earth. I pray for the next few moments that you would inspire us, that you would motivate us, that you would start something new in this cold, cold weather, in this season of frigidness, that you would start a new season in our lives in 2017. Help this be a season of productivity, of growth, of prosperity, of wealth, of health, of all the things that you would desire for us. Help us be who you've called us to be. We love you. We thank you so much. Amen. All right. So, when I was in high school, how many of you played high school sports? How many of you are like, you played high school sports? 7 people again. Okay, you guys got to be a lot more interactive, okay, because I know more than 7 people played. But anyway, so I loved high school sports, super competitive guy, and I played a whole bunch of different sports. Matter of fact, there's only like 3 or 4 sports I've never done. I've done so many different things, but one of the things is when you do a lot of sports, you get injured, and when I was in my freshman year, I actually dislocated this kneecap, and I put it right behind my leg. Yeah, thank you. First service didn't care. They just kind of went on. But you guys, you're more compassionate. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Put it right behind my leg. It was terribly painful. They put a cast on my leg for 6 months. Dead serious, like 6 months. I was walking around, kind of, one of those things kind of deal. And terribly painful. And then later on, when I was doing certain sports, I actually tore my Achilles tendon out of place. Crushed part of my ankle bone. They had to literally, and this is not exaggerating, reconstruct my ankle. They cut part of my shin bone out, moved the bone down there, put a screw. It was a really unique surgery that they had to do because, well, I'm different. Apparently, even my surgeries are different. So, they kind of did that. And so what happened was, before I went into high school, I loved to run around and play, and I was cool. But after these kind of injuries, I developed what I would call some conditions with what I would do. And then the conditions were, I don't do cardio, because that's running. I don't work out my legs, because that's legs. And I don't eat vegetables, because they taste bad, okay? That has nothing to do with my legs. They're just not good tasting. I don't know. Anybody like broccoli smell? You disturb me if you do. Okay, anyway, no, they just don't taste good. And so I developed that. And so when I went into college, I wanted something to do. I wanted to compete. And so one of the things I did was I started competing in powerlifting competitions. Have you ever seen those strongman competitions kind of deal where they throw kegs over walls and pull buses and the whole deal? I did those. I was one of those guys that kind of did that. Loved doing it. Was in the gym quite a bit. But I still had some conditions. I didn't do legs, didn't do cardio, didn't eat vegetables. And one semester, I decided I'm going to take, a buddy of mine and I, we decided we're going to take a weightlifting class because we thought that would be funny. Like a bunch of bigger guys kind of sitting around and, kind of people. And so we signed up for this weightlifting class in college. And the first day, we met our instructor. And if you can imagine a weightlifting instructor, I want you to imagine if you walk in, what does your weightlifting instructor look like? Just imagine it really quickly. Just what do they look like? So here was what we walked into. A 101-pound, very skinny little woman who was 58 years old. And she would tear all of you to pieces, okay? She was gnarly, okay? Her name was Miss Judy Gedney. She was, I think, an 8-time world powerlifting champion. She would crush me. But I walked in there, and I was doing the whole thing, and I was looking at her like, oh, okay, this is not at all what I expected. And she starts talking to all of us individually, and I was really she talked about her resume, and I thought I could learn some stuff from her. This is really, really cool. And so she asked me, she's like, what do you squat? I'm like, 0. I don't squat. And I looked at her, and I said, I don't do squat, I don't do legs, I don't do cardio, I don't do vegetables. Literally, I can't do them. I can't do legs, my knee, I can't do cardio, my ankle, can't do vegetables. They stink, okay? I just can't do those things. And she looked at me and she goes, well, I can't do anything with you then. Okay? That's cool. I had looked at her and I said, I can't do anything. And eventually what I realized was I better change some of my conditions with her so that I can do something. So I looked at her finally. I said, okay, I'll try this. And so I did squat, and I think I did like 100 pounds or something really kind of sad and pathetic like that. And that was my capacity. That if you would have asked me right then and there, hey, Nick, what can you squat? It was like 135 pounds or something like that. It was something really, really kind of small and insignificant. That was my max capacity. That's what I could do. And I'm pretty sure she had to help me. I'm not positive, but she might have had to help me, which is even more insulting when I think about it. But anyway, that's what I was at. I had a capacity. I had a capacity there. And if you'd ask me, hey, Nick, what's your max squat? I said 135 pounds. But here's what happened. I changed my conditions, and I started doing legs. I started doing cardio. There's no way in the world I'm eating vegetables, okay? But I started doing legs, and I started doing cardio, and my capacity started to go up. My squat started to go up, and I started getting a whole lot stronger and a whole lot better and a whole lot better, and some things that I never thought I could do because I changed my conditions. You see, here's what I want to talk about today, and here's what our hope is for you in 2017. You have a capacity. You have a capacity in your time. Right? I mean, all of us have 168 hours. You have a capacity in your relationships. You have a capacity for how much you can love other people. You have a capacity in your finance. You have a capacity. Every single one of us has a capacity. But here's the issue. I speak a lot about, and I used to until I started really prepping for this, but I used to speak a lot about, listen, hey, capacity issues. That's your capacity. That's your max, your max out capacity. But what I've realized is this, that if you want to change your capacity, you've got to change your conditions. That the conditions that you have really do determine your capacity, and your capacity isn't set in stone. That you may feel stretched and stressed right now. You may feel like, Nick, you don't understand, I'm so stressed out, my schedule's so full, I got so much on my plate or whatever, and that's probably true. You're probably at capacity, but here's the deal. If you can change your conditions, it'll grow your capacity. And over time, your capacity can grow exponentially, but here's the deal. This is where we're going to go today. You have to be willing to change your conditions. See, in a room like this, here's what I know. There's some people, and you're in marriages, and you've got a whole bunch of I can'ts. Okay, just like I had. Mine were kind of silly, right? I mean, I can't eat vegetables. That's kind of silly, but there's some people in here today, I can't forgive him or her. I can't trust other people. I want a great marriage. Yeah, I want it to be better. I want to grow in that, but I've got some conditions, and it's limiting my capacity. Some of you want to be financially healthy. You really do. You're like, listen, this is going to be the year that we kind of get ahead, and we're not living paycheck to paycheck, and we're going to do that. We're going to be financially healthy. I can't do a budget. I've been on a budget before, Nick. I've tried budgets. I can't do a budget. I can't do it. Some of you, listen, you've got something in your past, and you'd love to get over it. Matter of fact, you would say, in your ideal world, I would love to get past this. I had a moment in time, and for me, it's before that moment, and after that moment, somebody hurt you, somebody did something, somebody didn't do something. I mean, I don't know what it is, but you have a moment, and you need to forgive somebody. You need to let go of something. But again, there's voices in your mind. I can't do it. I can't let go. And it's limiting. It's limiting your capacity of what you want to do. Some of you want to get healthier. And all joking aside, you really do. You want to get healthier, but you've got limits like I had limits. Oh, I can't eat vegetables. I can't eat healthy. I can't go to the gym. Are you kidding me? I can't work out. I mean, my body, my legs, my joints, I'm too old, I'm too young. I've got conditions. Listen, this is one of the reasons I love watching Biggest Loser, okay? Really, I don't know if, I'm not going to ask anybody to raise their hand because 7 people would. But anyway, but I love watching Biggest Loser, and here's why. Because you see people that really, for their whole lives, they've made excuses about their capacity. And all of a sudden, they come into a situation, they start to can't change their conditions. And they start to do stuff that they've never even dreamed of being able to do. Why? Not because their capacity was any different. No, their capacity changed, but it's because their conditions changed. Because they finally started admitting, you know what, I can't run a marathon, but you know what, I can walk a mile. I can't not eat, completely healthy, but you know what, I can eat a salad for the first. I love watching it. It's inspiring to me. And I don't know what you've got. I don't know where you're at. I mean, those are some kind of big things, but listen, there's some silly things that you've got going on too, some simple little things that maybe God wants you to do, maybe you feel like you should do. That again, there's a part of you, there's a kind of voice in the back of your mind that's going, listen, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. You're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, you're not good enough. You tried that before, you went down that path before. You'll never accomplish that. You're going to fail again. You can't. And here's where I want to go today. That I believe for many of us, we convince ourselves of things that we can't do. In all reality, what it really is we just won't do them. In fact, let me ask you this question. What is the thing that you convince yourself you can't do that really you just won't do? What's that thing right now that, again, when people ask you to do, when people kind of push you, maybe you complain about something and somebody tries to encourage you and say, well, maybe you should do this, or maybe you should try this, or maybe you should read this book, or maybe you should go there, maybe you should get rid of that friend, or maybe you should walk away from that unhealthy relationship with that boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. What is that thing that you have that, again, maybe other people kind of see it and they kind of suggest to you, and your initial response is, well, I can't do that. You just don't understand. I can't. When in all reality, if you're being honest, if you're being really, really honest, and you don't got to admit it outwardly right now, okay, but just in your own heart, would you admit you just don't want to? If there's some people in here, you like having a trump card on somebody else, and you like not forgiving them because it means you win. You like having a dramatic moment in your life because it means that you get the attention that you want. And you'd never admit that outwardly, okay? I don't want anybody raising their hands or anything like that. But for some people, for many of us, there's some stuff in our lives God wants to do in 2017. That He wants to free you. He wants to set you up for success. He wants you to overcome some stuff and do some amazing things. He wants you to have the best year ever. I believe that. But it's going to take you being really, really honest with yourself. It's going to take you transitioning from I can't and being honest and going, you know what? Being really honest, it's not about can't. It's I won't. To finally come to the point where you go, all right, I will. It's a tough transition. It really, really is. So here's a question. What is it? What is it you've convinced yourself that you can't do? That in all reality, you just won't. I want to look at a passage today that really is all about money, okay? So welcome to River Lake Church. No, I'm just kidding. No, I grew up in churches, and it was crazy because I grew up in churches where pastors could take a sermon about cows and sheep and turn it into a money sermon. Anybody been to a church like that? It's like no matter what it was like, oh, it was water and wine. Yeah, the water represents your tithe, and the wine represents the bountiful blood. I mean, it was just crazy, okay? So that's not our church, so we're going to actually do something completely opposite. I want to take a passage completely about money, and I want to take it, and I don't want to talk about money as much. I want to talk about the principle that it kind of communicates to all of us together. And so if you're kind of like, trust me, we're not going to talk about money too much. But I really do believe something in here that can move and motivate all of us and free us to be who God wants us to be in 2017. And so we're going to look at a passage. If you got a Bible, 2 Corinthians chapter 8, Paul's writing to the church in Corinth. And this is like his third letter, maybe fourth. We're not quite sure. We know it's at least three. And he's writing this thing to him, and he starts to brag on somebody else. We're going to pick it up, 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Here's what it says. And now, brothers and sisters, we want you to know about the grace that God has given the Macedonian churches. Okay, so he's talking about another church, and he's going to start bragging about them to this church, which is like never the best thing in the world. It's like looking at your one kid and be like, hey, kid number 2, have you seen what kid number 1 does? They're amazing. Hint, hint. Yeah, you're not cool. Anyway, he goes on. He goes, in the midst of a very severe trial, okay? People speculated what this trial is. Some people say it was a massive earthquake that kind of messed up the economy. Some people say it was a famine. There was a drought. There was something crazy that was just kind of geological probably that was going on that nobody could control, nobody could kind of fix or whatever. They're overflowing. This is what I want you to see. They're overflowing joy and their extreme poverty. Those two phrases don't go together much, do they? I mean, really, just think about that. Paul sets the story up. He goes, hey, there's a church, Macedonia. They had overflowing joy. They were extremely poor. Now, I want to make a distinction here real quick. Because I run to people all the time, Nick, I'm poor. No, you're not poor, you're broke. There's a difference. You can make $100,000 a year and still be broke. You're just done with your money. You spend all your money. You have no extra. Listen, you could be broke. Broke is, I just spend everything that I've got coming in because I don't know how to manage my money. That's broke. Poor is, I don't have cable. I don't have a cell phone. I have barely enough money and maybe not enough money to put food on my table for my family and afford my room. That's poor. There's a big difference. We live in America, and we live in a culture, and we get the two confused all the time. And I run to people, I'd give if I could, Nick, but I can't. Okay, cool. That's awesome. That's great. I'm broke. Cool, I believe that. I believe you're broke. It's probably not the best thing to say. Paul sets this up. It's so important as we talk about this. He says they were extremely poor. They had a very real condition. They could look at their circumstances, and they could look around and go, we have nothing. We're barely putting food on the table. People are sick. People are frustrated. We're walking through a severe trial. The whole world's looking at us going, oh, I'm glad I'm not in there. We are extremely poor. And Paul says, oh, by the way, overflowing joy. They refuse to allow their conditions and their circumstances to determine how they interact with other people. They refuse to look at it and kind of go, oh, yeah, you know what? If God loved us more, and I wish it was better, and, we'll get through it. It's just kind of a tough time for us. I run into so many Christians, and they're like Eeyore, okay? I mean, just, don't point to your neighbor, okay? But, they're like Eeyore, You just, every time you talk to them, it's like they could just win the lottery, and they're like, yeah, but my neighbor won double, It's like, doesn't matter what happens to them. It's just that there's nothing, because they're conditions. Let me just tell you right now, your conditions do not determine your circumstances, your heart does. And your connection with God and how close you are to God and what God's doing in and through you determines what overflows out of you. And when there's an abundance of that, it doesn't matter your conditions, it doesn't matter your situations, you just overflow with joy. When there's a lack of that, it doesn't matter your conditions, you can have a whole lot of money, you can have zero money, and it just overflows in negativity and just all that kind of other stuff like that. Paul sets this up. It's so important for us, especially in America right now. Overflowing joy. Zero. Here's what he says. Welled up in rich generosity. Meaning, they looked around and they said, we need to give. We need to give. We need to give to this church, and we need to support what Paul's doing, and we're going to give generously. We're not going to go, oh, okay, yeah, here's all I can do. I'm going to tip God. We're going to kind of do that. We're going to not allow our condition to determine our capacity. I'm going to push it all day today. What is it? What is it you've convinced yourself you can't do? What is it? What circumstance? See, some of you, you've got some poverty, not in your finances, but in your relationships. You've got some poverty, not in your relationships, but maybe in your emotional awareness. You've got some poverty in some areas of your life, and you're not giving away. You're not loving other people. You're not kind to other people. You're not graceful to other people. You're not forgiving other people. Why? Because you do not have that, and you blame it on your conditions. You blame it on your capacity. And in 2017, you can change that if you want to. You can start to change your conditions and look at the things that I can't, and start to understand, you know what, I don't want to. And then finally get to the point where you go, okay, I will. Because your conditions don't determine what you do, how you feel. Your conditions just reveal your relationship with God. That's it. He goes on. Verse 3. Best verse of the whole thing. For I testify that they gave as much as they were able. Capacity. They maxed out. Don't miss this. This is where we're going to go today. And even beyond their ability. How do you give beyond your ability? How do you give beyond? How do you go beyond what you can do? How do you go outside of your capacity? How do you give in such a way that you're like, I gave everything I could and then more? Paul writes it and he says, listen, they maxed it out and even beyond their own ability. See, here's what I want you to see, and here's what I believe for 2017. That the things that you convince yourself you can't do, that God wants you to do, are the very things that when you start to change your conditions and you start to do your max, when you start to extend your capacity, God's going to do something even better and incredible, and it's going to extend beyond what you want to do. That's just what happens. So for some of you, you want to get healthier, and you really believe, I'm just gonna start eating healthier, and you've got kind of this minimum kind of thing that you want to accomplish in life, and so you start to do it. But once you start to challenge your conditions, it's like a steamroll. It's like a domino, and it starts to build and roll and roll and roll and roll. And at the end of 2017, I'm telling you, I really believe this. If you can just kind of march forward, if you can just kind of put your head down every single day and go, no, I'm not going to let my conditions determine my capacity. I'm going to start challenging the conditions. I'm going to start challenging what's going on. Here's what's going to happen. It's going to move and extend your capacity. It's going to branch out. There's going to be things that you're going to be able to do that you never thought you could do. There's going to be things that you're going to be able to accomplish you never thought you could accomplish. You're going to start to love people more than you ever thought you could love them. You're going to start to feel grace and mercy. You're going to start to feel freedom better. You're going to start to understand that your budget is your best friend. And you're going to start to feel financial freedom that you didn't even think was possible. I don't know what it is for you. I don't know what it is that you believe the lie that I can't. I'm not good enough. I'll never. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I'll never get past that addiction. I'll never overcome that. I'll never be able to do that. I'm just telling you. That's a condition. That's a condition that you've believed. It's something in the back of your head that you've believed the lie. And if you can get to the point where you challenge it, where you pause long enough to go, you know what, I'm not sure that's true or not. I'm telling you right now, your capacity, what God can do in and through you will not just be at your max, it will double, triple, quadruple. It's crazy. He goes on. Go back to that verse real quick, Tom. Here's what it says. Entirely on their own. My favorite part. My favorite part. Here's the deal. Some people, you're waiting for the pastor to tell you to do something. So this is about giving, and again, there's not a lot of times that people just walk up to me, but actually Let Hope In was an initiative we started, and one of the best things that happened was, because we're not a church about money that guilts people in, okay? If you're here long, we don't guilt people about money. I believe you give what God calls you to give. Hey, listen, that's cool. You're not going to hear from us. But Let Hope In, we just wanted to inspire people and kind of do this, and what happened was we got phone calls, people calling us going, hey, listen, can we give to that? Can we help you? And I'm like, let me pray about that. Jesus says, yes, you can, okay? Yeah, that's exactly what it did. Yeah, Jesus says, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, we take cash, check, money charge, whatever you want to do. And it was awesome. And I loved it because here's what happened. It was entirely on their own. That God was doing something in them. God was challenging them. Outside of Sunday mornings, they weren't waiting for the pastor to stand up and be like, hey, listen, we got this thing going on, and, we really could use some money, so if you could step up and give and not go to hell, that'd be great, okay? Just, I've been in churches like that. That's not us. See, they challenged their conditions, and it changed the capacity. But there's people in the church, man, they keep waiting. I've run into people, hey, how come you're not serving? Well, I'm just waiting for somebody to ask me. Stop it. Stop it. Stop blaming other people for your own lack of growth in your life. Quit waiting for the pastor. Quit waiting for your friend. Quit waiting for your spouse. Quit waiting for the people around you. Quit waiting for your kids to come up. Quit waiting for other people to do and call you to do what you already know what you need to do. Paul says, listen, they did it on their own. I didn't have to call them. I didn't have to guild them. I didn't have to do anything like that. Let me just ask you again. I'm going to repeat it over and over again. What is it? What is it that you need to be doing? That you need to stop doing? What's the relationship you need to get away from? What's that thing that you need to kind of distance yourself from? That again, if you're honest, you just know it, but you're just sitting back going, well, nobody said anything, and I haven't heard a sermon on it, and I'm not quite sure it's bad, and you just got all these excuses over and over and over and over again. That's not the life God's called you to live. I just promise you that. He goes on. They urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing this service to the Lord's people. Again, same thing, entirely on their own. They looked at him and said, we want to help. We want to be a part of that. That's why I love our church. And that's why, listen, if you want to be a part of what we're doing, we would love to let you be a part of what we're doing. I believe that what we're doing in this community is really unique and really awesome. Our Let Hope In initiative is one of those things. Just listen, but here's the deal. If you want to be a part of that, you got to take culture training. You got to kind of walk through some stuff because really we want you to be as equipped and empowered as much as possible. So listen, some of you think, man, I don't know if I should serve. I don't know if I should. You can do that. There's some steps, but we would love for you to be a part of what we're doing. But we're not going to run after you. Well, maybe some people will. But, just not going to run after you too hard. Because I believe that what happens is when it's your idea, when God convicts you and moves you, that's when incredible things start to happen. It goes on, verse 5. And they exceeded our expectations, and they gave themselves first of all to the Lord, and then by the will of God all to us. See, it starts with God, and you kind of know this. I mean, if you're a church, I don't have to explain this too much to you. You kind of get this. But it always starts with God. For some people, you've got a time capacity, And people talk about, hey, do you spend time with God? Or maybe even in your own mind, like, I probably should spend more time with God. I probably should read my Bible every day. Okay, I know I should pray, but you know what? I got to get up early, and it's too late, and blah. I mean, you got all these kind of excuses. You get somebody like me who stands up here and says, hey, I want to encourage you, commit to spending 10 minutes a day with God. Just 10 minutes a day will change your whole 2017. And I believe that. 10 minutes a day, just if you get up 10 minutes earlier, that's it. But again, for some, you got a condition. I'm not a morning person. I can't do mornings, Nick. I could do night. Well, do night. I don't. Okay, well then do mornings. I don't know what to tell you, okay? I mean, like I watch Netflix all night. I had every intention to do it, but I just watch, Parks and Rec is incredible. I don't know what you watch, but, do whatever works for you, but do it. But for many of us, we've got conditions. And it says, listen, first of all, to the Lord. Everything starts with God. If it starts with God, it'll continue. If it starts with you, it'll die. You just need to understand that. I have some great ideas and great goals. And what I have found is when they're my ideas and my goals, I tend to fail at them. When it's God-inspired and God's moving in me, God convicts me enough, even though I fail along the way, God convicts me enough, I finally, normally, eventually accomplish them. Just because it starts with God. He says, it starts with God. Verse 6. So we urge Titus, just as he had earlier made a beginning, to bring also completion the act of grace on your part. He says, listen, we urged him to bring it to completion. Complete it. Don't let 2017 be a great start and a terrible finish. That's so many of our years. Great intentions, great motivation, great aspiration. This year is going to be the year that I do, and I start, and I'm on a diet, and I'm getting healthier, and I'm doing this, and I'm never going to go there again. Just so inspired and so motivated. Complete it. Make sure that you complete it. And when you fail, not if, I promise you, you will fail. When you fail, get back up. Get back up. Finish strong. Failure happens when you quit, not when you fall. Very different. Very different. And Scripture in Proverbs talks about this, and it says, listen, the righteous fall, not fail, fall 7 times, but get up. And some of you, you've got an I can't in the back of your mind because you've fallen 7 times, or maybe 17 times, maybe 77 times, maybe 180 times. You've got an addiction or a struggle or whatever, and you've fallen. You've got an issue, and you keep falling, and you think, I'll never get over it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Failure happens when you quit, not when you fall. That's so important. Complete the work that God has for you in 2017. Last verse. But since you excel in everything, in faith and speech, in knowledge, in complete earnestness, and in the love we have kindled in you, see that you also excel in this thing of grace and giving. He starts to wrap it up, and I love this because he does something really, really incredible. He kind of puts it all together. And Paul's kind of just, he's tricking him a little bit because he sets him up and says, listen, but since you excel in everything. Well, that's not really a true statement because in a couple of seconds he's going to tell them what they don't excel in. But he's kind of setting them up as like, hey, you're an amazing person, okay? But, that's kind of what he's saying, okay? He's setting them up. In faith, well, that's important to be a Christian, right? Faith, that's a big one. If you kind of think about, like, hey, what defines a good Christian? Faith, that's kind of a big one. In speech, he talks really good, like Monday through Friday. I love Jesus. Yes, I do. I love Jesus. How about you? Just kind of, they say all the right things. They got good faith. In knowledge, they know the Bible. They can quote Romans and, the Romans wrote. They kind of know all that kind of stuff like that. In complete earnestness, they're passionate. And in love, really, Jesus says, listen, you want to know my disciples? You can tell them about how much they love each other. Paul kind of paints this picture. He's like, man, they are amazing Christians. That's awesome. But don't ignore your giving. And I'm going to tell you right now, if this was a money sermon, and it's not, I would point out that Paul's saying you can be an amazing Christian in all those areas, but if you're not giving, you're not an amazing Christian. I would point that out. I'm not going to say that today because it's not a money sermon, okay? But that's what I would say. But let me back up, because again, this is about much, much bigger than just money. What he is saying is this, there's a wholeness, there's a completeness to your life, to what God wants to do to you, and one small section affects and dampens everything else in your world. Everything else. He says, you're amazing at loving people in faith and knowledge, and you study the Bible, and you're so awesome. You go to church, you're in a small group, you serve. He goes, listen, you're not giving. You got an excuse. I'm broke. I'm poor. I got a condition. I can't. Some of you, that's your story. And you don't see how it connects. You don't see how it connects to everything else. I spend end of every year, last couple of weeks of every year, I spend really kind of dreaming for the next year. I just kind of get away a little bit in the mornings and pray and kind of dream big. And if you hang around me, just that's kind of my deal. And so I was like just praying daily. God, what big, crazy, audacious, ridiculous thing do you want us to do in 2017? I mean, I love our church. Our church has grown so much. Our church has impacted people. I feel like every year we've gotten better and better and better and better. It's so encouraging and exciting for me. And I'm like, man, 2017, best is yet to come. Let's go, God. What big, crazy thing do you want me to do? I'm so pumped. And I was praying for a week. And I got a couple of things, and I can't wait to share them to you. But one of them just jumped out to me, and it made me angry, to be totally honest. I'm praying. I'm like, God, what big, crazy, just ridiculous thing. How do we go? What mountains are we going to move this year, God? Felt like God said, because God speaks to me like I speak to other people, which is always sarcastic. So just take this with a grain of salt. I felt like God said, Nick, I want you to eat vegetables. Don't laugh at me. I'm being very real and open up here, and you're mocking. No, I'm just kidding. I was angry because here's my response. Dead serious. I wish I was making this up. I wish I was a better pastor. I could be like, and I said, yes, amen. Give me some beats. I didn't say that, okay? I was like, are you kidding me, God? Like, we just got all these things that come on, like what? I want to talk about big things. Felt like God said, Nick, why is it you can stand on a stage and proclaim big, crazy, audacious things? And we've accomplished big, crazy, audacious things. Why is it you can do that? You can believe in me to do the exceptional and the impossible, but you can't believe in me to change taste buds, which is ordinary. Happens every day. Why is it that your faith is in the extreme and not in the small? And I was like, well, that stinks. Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore, God. We're going to move on. I'm going to read my Bible. Let's talk about, I was really frustrated. I'm just being honest with you. But I believe that's what God's calling me personally go. Here's what I want you to hear. That's silly, right? I mean, the big scheme of things. I mean, listen, I'm kind of making fun of myself a little bit, but at the end of the year, it'd be easy for me to blow it off. It'd be easy for me to look back at the last 38 years of my life and go, listen, I haven't eaten vegetables, and look what we've accomplished, and look what we've done, and look what's happened, and it's so cool, and that's silly. But here's the deal. There's a principle, a biblical principle, that what God can trust you with in the small, over time, he will give you the big. And there's some stuff right now that God's calling you to do that, as I've been talking, it's just been kind of in the back of your mind, and you blow it off. You call it silly. It's not silly, it's small. But listen, you call it silly because if it's silly, you can blow it off, right? If it's silly, you can minimize it. If it's silly, you can just kind of go, well, that's not going to affect everything. It absolutely affects everything. Everything. I don't know what it is. It's big. Here's what I know. When I blew out this knee, I had a cast on it. This leg went from 26 inches to, I think, 16 or 15. It was ridiculous. But I learned a principle there. When I was going through physical therapy, I couldn't do anything with this. The doctor looked at me and he said, Nick, here's what I want you to do. I want you to work out this leg. I want you to work this leg out. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Doc, I know you're a good doctor and all. That's awesome. This is not the problem leg, okay? This one's just fine. This is the problem. He goes, no, you don't understand, Nick. And there's some principle, and I think it's called the unilateral principle. I'm not quite sure. But there's a principle where when you work out one side of your body, it will actually work out the other side of the body. That you could spend your whole life working out and doing curls on your right arm and never touch your left arm. And it's not going to keep pace, but your left arm will get stronger. It affects everything. What Miss Gedney understood in the very beginning was, I wanted to do great in my bench press and throws and all that. She understood that, my bench press is affected by my legs and my squats. And if I wouldn't do squats, I had a condition. And I was telling her my conditions, and it was determining my capacity. You've got some conditions. You've got some stuff that you're going, God, I don't do squats. I don't do legs. I don't do cardio. I don't do vegetables. I don't do that kind of stuff like that. And it's limiting everything else. It's affecting everything else. I don't know what you have. Here's what I know. 2017 can be the best year that you've ever had. It really can. If you're willing to put your conditions aside, if you're willing to capture your thoughts and say, no, overruled, I'm done with that. I'm going to go from can't to won't to will. But you've got to be willing to put them away. You've got to be willing to step up. You've got to be willing to understand that, you know what? It's not a can't, it's a won't. And you've got to be willing to be the kind of person, the man or the woman, to step into your destiny, to step into the grace, to step into the promises that God has for you, because he's got some big promises, and they're waiting for you. If you just let it, 2017 is going to be an amazing year, but you got to set your conditions aside. You got to start to love people. You got to start to forgive people. You got to start move past it. You've got to be you. It's in you. He has it for you. Embrace it this year. The best really is yet to come. Would you stand with me? We have an unstoppable God, and he wants to do unstoppable things in you. And it's just the beginning. I said on Night of Hope that, you know what? Night of Hope was not a celebration as much as it was an invitation, and today is that next step in that invitation. It's your very practical next step, to leave here and to not just be inspired, but to be motivated to take some next steps, to understand that you play a part in God's role in God's kingdom, and this is it. And so I don't know if it's you need to forgive, you need to love, you need to forget, you need to give, you need to serve. I don't know what your next step is. I know your temptation is to dismiss it. I know your temptation is to let it go and to count it off as silly, but it's not silly, it's small. So my hope, my prayer for you this year is that you would go in confidence that God has something amazing for you if you're obedient. God bless. We love you. We're going to have a great series. We'll see you next Sunday. Unstoppable.